Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again and we're going to have a look at a beer that I think will be very interesting, and this is going to be one of my kind of quirkier reviews in terms of brewery histories and things like that actually. So I hope that you guys enjoy this one. I'm curious to see what this beer has in store for sure. So for this one then we are going to head out to the state of California on the west coast, to the city of San Diego in the south to be specific. And we're going to have a look at a beer that is brewed on behalf of the San Diego Brewers Guild. So this one goes by the title San Diego Brewers United. It comes in at 8.5% ABV and it is a double West Coast IPA, this one. So yeah, this beer is brewed at Thorn Brewing in Escondito, but it's a 7-way collaboration. So Stone, Alesmith, Modern Times, Mother Earth, Pizza Port, Port Brewing and Thorn Brewing are all involved in this one. All of those breweries have featured on the channel before, bar Mother Earth and Thorn Brewing, so I will need to do something to fix that in the fairly near future. I have heard that Mother Earth's beer is pretty good. Thorn Brewing I hadn't heard of before though, so we will need to see about getting a couple of their beers to review on the channel at some point soon. As I've always told you, it's always nice to have different beers from different breweries in different states in America. That's always one of the really cool things about doing the American beer reviews for you here on the channel. But yeah, this beer is, as I say, brewed by Stone Brewing on behalf of the San Diego Brewers Guild, and the idea that it was to help raise funds for the smaller members of the guild that are kind of struggling, particularly during the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So a pretty cool idea, I have to say actually. There's various brewers guilds in different cities and states and stuff across America, so yeah, it is pretty cool to be able to review this one for you here. So I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and we will do the brewery history section of the video a little bit differently for this one. Once again in this review, a massive shout out and thank you to Chris Contreras, an American dude living in Belgium who travels the world with his work. He takes back a hell of a lot of beer for himself, and he also sends a little bit of it up to me here in Sweden to review for you guys here on the channel. So a lot of the crazy American beers that you've seen me review, the Russian Rivers, the the Tree Houses, the Trilliums, the Lawson's Finest Liquids and stuff like that, a lot of these are thanks to Chris. He's been awesome. An awesome contributor to the channel over the years actually, and I do hope that I can meet him in person sometime. Unfortunately the whole COVID-19 situation in Belgium stopped us from doing it quite recently, which was the plan, so we'll need to see about sorting that at some point in the fairly near future. But once again, massive thank you to Chris for making this review possible, and I guess this is one that he kind of sent me just for the sort of quirkiness factor of it. It's not often that you will see brewers guilds releasing their kind of own beers, if you like. So yeah, as I say, this should be an interesting one, and this is actually the last of the beers that Chris sent me in the latest box, so it'll be a little while before you see another Chris beer, I would think, because he was very generous this time actually. But yeah, really cool to have followers like that who send you all these kind of insane beers. But yeah, very curious. Let's get on with this one then and see how we get on. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery history. Since this one is basically a 7-way collaboration, we'll just do a very short summary of each brewery and try and explain it as best we can in a few sentences. But yeah, if you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's all of the brewery websites and the links to my other reviews involving these breweries, or my future links, my links to future reviews involving these breweries, depending on that. Like I say, Mother Earth and Thorn have never been on the channel before, but all the other breweries have. So yeah, check out those links. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to quite regularly these days because we do get a very good selection of American beers over here in Europe at the moment, and long may that continue. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you guys show the channel is hugely appreciated. In fact, the local knowledge that you guys show, give me for these videos is invaluable actually, so do keep those recommendations coming as you have been doing for the last couple of years. So yeah, let's go on and actually start with the kind of history section of this thing. So as I say, what we'll do is a little summary of each brewery. So as I mentioned to you already, This beer has been brewed by Thorn Brewing in Escondito, and it's a collaboration with Alesmith, Modern Times, Mother Earth, Pete Support, Port Brewing and Thorn Brewing. And the idea with this was that it was a beer that was to represent the San Diego Brewers Guild, which was founded back in 1997. There's over 120 members from what I understand, and basically the profits from this beer were to kind of give assistance to the smaller and the most kind of, I guess you could say, the most in need of the breweries during this whole kind of COVID-19 pandemic. But yeah, let's just go through the 7 breweries then that are involved in this one. Quite a cool idea to release a beer like this. So, Thorn Brewing, of course, where this one is brewed. These guys were founded back in 1996 by Steve Wagner and Greg Koch in San Marcos, but they moved their main brewing location to Escondito in 2006. They expanded further in 2014 to have breweries in Richmond in Virginia, over on the American East Coast, close to DC, and they also started a brewery in Germany as well, but the latter, this German one, was sold to Brewdog fairly recently, and these days Stone are apparently the 9th largest craft brewery in America. And for us over here in Europe, the Stone Brewing beers are fairly easy to get, and I think they are distributed all across America these days. I think probably to all 50 states, I would guess, considering how large this brewery are. But yeah, that's Stone Brewing. The next one, Alesmith. So Alesmith were founded in 1995 by Skip Verhelio and Ted Newcomb before being bought by Peter Zehan in 2002. So the brewery are based in Miramar, and they moved to a larger facility in the same area in 2015, and apparently these guys have one of the largest tasting rooms in California. I've only ever tried one beer from Alesmith, which I didn't realise until I was compiling the notes for this video, and that is the Speedway Stout. So I would highly recommend that you have a look at that one, but at some point I really do want to try their Scotch ale. I've heard that their Scotch ale is very good, but I will try and make sure that you get a few more Alesmith reviews on the channel at some point in the future. The Nut Brown and the Scotch ale are the ones that I'm really wanting to zero in on and get reviewed here, so I'll keep an eye out for those the next time I make it to Japan. But yeah, that is Alesmith. Brewery number 3 then, Modern Times. So Modern Times Brewing was founded back in 2013 by Jacob McKean. He used to work for Stone, of course, and the brewery's named after a former kind of alternative lifestyle colony on the East Coast. I think it was on Long Island, if I remember rightly. It's somewhere in that kind of New York area. But this brewery is based in the Point Loma district, and it's also known for its coffee these days, and they are very, very prolific. You'll see a lot of different beers coming out of Modern Times Brewery. I think it's probably fair to say, out of all the breweries involved here, it probably is Modern Times who are the most prolific of all of them, actually. So yeah, definitely a brewery that you want to check out, and we get their beers over here quite often in Europe, actually, but a very good brewery, and probably I think these guys are the youngest of all the breweries involved in this one, actually. But yeah, the next brewery, brewery number 4, is Mother Earth. This brewery was founded back in 2010 by Daniel and John Love, along with Cameron Kanakiavani, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It sounds like it might be, you know, like a brewery name from like the Caucasus or something like that, or maybe kind of going towards India or something, I'm really not sure. But in 2012, these guys opened a brewery in Vista, but they quickly had to expand again, and so they opened a production facility in Nampa, which is close to Boise, the capital in Idaho, and this sells their beer all across the rest of the country. But from what I understand, the Vista location does provide for the local market in California. I have heard this brewery's name before, and I've heard their beers are very good, but as I said earlier, I've never tried anything from this brewery, so fingers crossed we can make that happen at some point in the future. I do need to get out to California and film some on-location videos and things like that. That's definitely something that I want to get on in the future. But next year we're going to New England, so hopefully within the next couple of years we can get over to the west coast of the States as well. But yeah, that is brewery number 4. Brewery number 5 then, Pete Support, and I guess we should kind of conjoin this with brewery number 6, Port Brewing, because these guys are quite closely related, so bear with me on this one. So Pete Support Brewing started as an offshoot or side project of siblings Gina and Vince Marsalia, who took over a struggling pizza restaurant in 1987. So Vince began to experiment with home brewing, and then in 1992 they installed a brew kit, and they've just grown the business from there. But these guys, they've got several locations all over the place, but the main brewery can be found in Carlsbad. And like I said, they are related to Port Brewing. So Port Brewing is a kind of separate brand of the same company that Pete Support is part of, along with Lost Abbey. So this entity, Port Brewing, also involves Tommy Arthur in addition to Vince Marsalia, and essentially when it comes to Port Brewing, Pete Support and things like that, Pete Support operates as a completely separate entity, whereas Port Brewing is the kind of traditional Californian style of beers, the IPAs and stuff like this, whereas Lost Abbey is the sort of Belgian style beers, and these guys also produce the hop concept beers that are starting to come out a little bit more as well. So yeah, Port Brewing, Pizza Port, Lost Abbey, hop concept, and there's another one in there called, is it something Bubbles? There is another beer brand that these guys produce as well, actually. So yeah, Pizza Port Brewing and Port Brewing are interrelated, and also you've got the Lost Abbey in there. So I wonder why they put, I do wonder why they put Port Brewing on this one and not the Lost Abbey, or yeah, I'm really not sure about that, because I guess it's maybe just because it's not a Belgian beer, actually. It's not a Belgian style beer, it's a West Coast American IPA. But yeah, that's brewery number 6, that's brewery number 5, and brewery number 6 in this one. So brewery number 7, last but not least, Thorn Brewing. So Thorn Brewing was founded by Dennis and Eric O'Connor, along with their childhood friend Dan Carrico. They were founded back in, I think it was 2012, if I remember rightly. But the brewery are based in the North Park area, and since 2017 they've had their Barrio Logan location, which serves as the main brewing operations. If you look at the picture of this thing, it is absolutely beautiful. But they've got 2 other bars as well that they have. I think one in the North Park area, and there was one somewhere else as well. But yeah, these guys, as I say, I think they've been going since 2012, and this is another one of the breweries involved here that I've never tasted anything from. So yeah, fingers crossed again we can make that happen in the future. So I will need to see about reviewing some Thorn and Mother Earth beers, and some more from all the other breweries as well, actually, because I've only done I've only done one from Alesmith, I've only done one from Pizza Port, the Swami's IPA, and yeah, I've done a couple from Modern Times, and Stone. There are quite a few things from Stone that I would like to review as well. I didn't tend to review the Stone beers because most of them were brewed in Germany, and I wanted the original American ones to review for you on the channel, actually. But yeah, that's a short summary of all of the 7 breweries involved in this one, and yeah, I'll put the links to the brewery websites in the description below, as well as the links to my other and future reviews involving all of these breweries as well, so you can take a look at that. I think the other thing I should say about this is that I've never reviewed a beer from Port Brewing's individual line, but as I say, I've reviewed Pizza Port, and I've also reviewed stuff involving the Lost Abbey as well. So, and Hop Concept is the other one there too. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you in terms of brewery histories and things like that. As I say, check out those links in the description below, and if you want to learn more about any of these breweries, you can check out their websites, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest going on, and you can also check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages and learn more about all those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is very, very nice. I have to compliment the San Diego Brewers Guild for that. It does come across very, very nicely. There you can see the symbol there. I'm not sure how widely used that symbol has been in California during the whole COVID-19 situation, but yeah, it certainly looks very cool, the whole tropical environment. I don't know if I ever went to San Diego when I was young. My dad always loved going to America, and I have been to California, but I think I was like maybe 5 or 6 or something at the time, so I really don't remember California all that much, so that's something that I need to sort out at some point in the future, as I said. But it says on the back here, the double dry hop double IPA benefiting the San Diego Brewers Guild. Call it the capital of craft, or America's finest beer destination. Call it what you want, we call it home. The craft beer community has become an ingrained piece of San Diego culture, and is as synonymous with the city as perfect weather and awe-inspiring sunsets. As the industry adjusts to the new normal, these 7 local breweries have joined forces in support of the San Diego Brewers Guild, a non-profit which provides important resources, guidance and marketing support to 120 plus San Diego County breweries of all sizes. We grew this community together, and we'll get through this together the same way, with mutual support, a shared passion for beer and a whole lot of hops. Effort conceived and coordinated by Stone Brewing. So yeah, that is pretty damn cool, I have to say. But yeah, like I say, this is a really unusual beer for me to be able to review for you on the channel, so once again, thank you to Chris for making this possible. This is a 473ml can, or 1 American pint. We always make fun of the American measurement system here on the channel because it makes no sense. Cups, quarts, everything. It just, to me, it just makes no sense. Use the metric system, guys. It's based on water, the universal solvent. There, I've said my piece. One of my favourite comments I got in one of my other American videos was, "Oh, we use freedom units, man." I really like that. That comment's always stuck with me. But yeah, cool to have this one for you here on the channel. Thank you again to Chris. Let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. The San Diego Brewers United Double IPA coming in at 8.5% ABV. West Coast Double Dry Hopped IPA. Should probably say that the other way around. A Double Dry Hopped West Coast Double IPA. So yeah, this one I think should be interesting. And as I mentioned, this is the last of the beers from the latest box that Chris Contreras sent me. So yeah, that's about 2/3 of the beer in the glass, and that should do us for just now. There we go. So yeah, as you can see with this one, and as you would expect, this has poured a lovely, if we shine the light through this, yeah, this is definitely a West Coaster in terms of appearance. It's not quite got the same levels of haze as you would expect of a big hazy New England. But yeah, as you can see, this beer has poured a lovely kind of bright yellowy leaning amber colour. There is a bit of an amber hint to this one, but yeah, I think it is more of a kind of yellowy leaning West Coast IPA. There's a solid quarter finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head there. That's faded away to just be a very kind of thin foamy layer. There's a nice big thick foamy ring around the edge of the glass and a little bit of a kind of wispy, a little bit of a sort of wispy head just on the top there, but one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, as I said, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But in terms of appearance, this one is kind of what you would expect of a sort of West Coast double IPA, to be honest. If you shine the light through this, you can see there is a degree of haze to this one, but it's not the haziest of beers that you're going to come across. And you would expect the West Coast IPAs to have a little bit of natural haze to them. Some breweries, of course, like to filter these different beers, of course, but it just depends. You know, you go brewery to brewery and you'll get different things. But yeah, it certainly looks the part. So let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this one. Ooh, that does smell pretty nice. So straight away with this beer, you can smell that nice malt base. I mean, recently, of course, again thanks to Chris, I tried the Pliny the Elder. And that really showed me the more kind of bready end of the West Coasty spectrum, because to me the West Coast IPAs were always really big and oily and caramelly, like the Sierra Nevada Torpedo. That was my kind of quintessential West Coast IPA actually. But yeah, the Pliny the Elder really showed me the more kind of smooth and bready end of the spectrum actually. So yeah, I like how I do like how this one kind of comes across. It really comes across as being a more kind of bready leaning West Coast IPA, which is nice. So yeah, I like this. I certainly do like this. So yeah, straight away with this beer, you can smell that lovely, smooth, sort of white bready base there. There is a bit of that bread crusty note in there. I'm pretty sure it will be crystal and two-row malts that are in this one. It really has that distinctive American malty base to it. I do wish we got a bit more of the crystal and two-row malts over here in Europe, but of course we've got a hell of a lot of good malt from Germany and Austria and places like this. So yeah, it really has a lovely, it really does have a lovely kind of bready base to it, this one, which is nice, and it smoothens out a lot as well. So you also get a good little bit of a sweet caramel out of this one, bit of a straight up sweet caramel. You've also got some nice McVitie's digestive biscuits in there, but yeah, this one I think has, it's really got a very solid base to it. Yeah, smooth bread, a little bit of a smooth white bread, a little bit of a bread crusty note in there, some sweet caramel, and also a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing as well. And this is what you would expect from a West Coast IPA. As I said before, you can get some that are very oily and caramelly and things like that. You can smell a little bit of the booziness in this one. You are going to get that when it comes to an 8.5%er. You are going to detect a little bit of that booziness. It comes out with the brown sugars, of course, but yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. So nothing surprising about the malt base in this one, but it does come across very, very nicely actually. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, and that's what we're interested in when it comes to these IPAs. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, this beer, it's got a very, very nice kind of big green component to it actually. In the back corners of the nose, or in the back of the nose, sorry I should say, you do get a little bit of a wee earthiness out of this one. I do wonder if there's a bit of mosaic in here. There's some of the orangey notes and stuff that are making me wonder about mosaic. But yeah, a little tiny touch of earthiness there, but a nice big spicy floral aromatic note to this beer. I'm pretty sure Columbus has been used in this as a bittering hop. You can just smell some of that distinct spiciness in there. I don't find this beer to be overly piney and resinous. I find it more kind of floral and aromatic and just a touch spicy, as I said, but you've got some nice lighter grassy qualities to this one as well, and I really like how that goes together in this beer. So yeah, the fruity part of this beer comes across very, very nicely actually. So yeah, it's got a nice little bit of lighter grassiness, as I say, but the green components for me are kind of dominated by the nice big floral aromaticity. But yeah, that sums up the green part of the beer then. Let's look at the fruity side of it then. So as I mentioned to you earlier, to me, this beer does have a nice little bit of a sort of orangey tint to it. You can definitely get a little bit of that out of this one. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure there's a bit of mosaic in this one because it has that nice bright, more tangerine type orange out of it, but you've also got some really nice tropical fruits in there. You've got a wee bit of mango, you've got a wee bit of a kind of passion fruity note in there. I wouldn't be surprised if this beer is something along the lines of like a Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic and maybe a Centennial. I wouldn't be surprised if it's some sort of combination along these lines that's in this one. I couldn't find out what combination of hops it was in this beer, but it really would not surprise me if this beer is something along those lines. And of course, if you're going to do a beer like this as a kind of collective release, then that would make sense. You would want something that you can produce on a fairly big scale, so you want these hops that are quite commonly produced, and you would want something that a lot of people kind of know in a sense as well actually. So you might want to make a beer like this, you might want to make it just to be a little bit more sort of old school and things. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is like Citra, Simcoe and maybe Mosaic or something like this. But yeah, the fruits really sweeten up in this one the more you smell it. They do get a little bit more oily, so yeah, nice juicy mangoes out of this one, but they've got a bit of that more oily character. Your fruits will of course come across as a bit more oily in a West Coast IPA because of the caramelly malt base, and in New England they will become, you know, more kind of creamy and juicy. But yeah, nice little bit of a mangoey note to this one, good wee touch of passion fruit in there. You will get some things like an apricot-y sort of jammy quality to the beer as well, but then you've also got a really nice juicy and more oily orangey tangerine out of this one. I want to say that there's a wee touch of a zestiness to this, so I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a wee bit of Centennial in this one, because when you take the aroma in a little bit more deeply, you do just get a little touch of that kind of lemony, zesty sort of thing coming out of this beer. So just pay attention to that. There is a really nice kind of fruity component to this beer. Quite oily, but a really nice kind of sweet quality to these to the fruits in this beer as well. So yeah, definitely take a little bit of time to enjoy that aroma before you get stuck into the beer. So yeah, I'm very, very curious about this one then. So this one is the San Diego Brewers United, a double dry hopped West Coast double IPA, from what I understand, coming in at 8.5%, brewed by Thorn Brewing on behalf of the San Diego Brewers Guild to help the small breweries in the county get through the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, once again, massive thank you to Chris Contreras for this beer, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed the reviews of all the Chris beers we've had thus far. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that is pretty damn nice, I have to say. Solid beer, this one. I do get a wee bit of booziness out of this. Yeah, I really like how this one goes together. It does get a big thumbs up from me. It is a classic West Coaster, it really is. It's got a lovely bitter kick to it as well, which I really like. That's one of the things I've really missed about the things. I mean, everybody these days is doing the New England hazy kind of thing, and I do like my New England hazy IPAs, but I wish beers like this were also quite readily available. I think the West Coast IPAs have been forgotten about in recent times actually, and I think that that's a real shame, sadly. So yeah, but I'm glad I'm noticing that breweries are starting to diversify in styles a little bit. Over here in Europe, there's lots of lagers Pilsners and Helles and things like that coming out. We are starting to get a few more black IPAs, rye IPAs, and West Coasters coming out as well. So we are starting to see the IPA side of things re-diversify a little bit, which is obviously very, very welcome. But yeah, I really do miss the beers such as this one. But this is lovely. This really is lovely, this one. So thumbs up to Stone and San Diego Brewers Guild and all of the other breweries involved in this. This is a cracking beer. So yeah, where to start with this one? What I'll say about this is that it doesn't do anything surprising with the style. It's just a really well crafted beer. You can't ask for much more than that these days because there's so many breweries out there. But yeah, straight away with this beer then, the middle of your palate, you get that nice smooth white bready character there. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. When you go to the back third of your palate, you will notice a few more kind of grainy elements coming out of the beer. It does get a little bit more kind of bread crusty and grainy in that sense, but in the middle of the palate definitely it's a slightly smoother and softer white bread character that you get out of this one. A bit more, it's got a wee bit of a bread crusty note to it, but yeah, it's a very smooth base that you have in this beer. I really like how all of this goes together in that sense. So it's got a really nice backbone. As I say, I think American Crystal and oh, brain's not working now. American Crystal and 2 row malts. That'll be forming the backbone of this beer actually, for sure. Yeah, this one is it's really nice. I mean, the thing with this beer is that the booziness I think builds in it. The further that you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, I really like that about it. I mean, in terms of the kind of caramelly side of things, in the middle of your palate you do get a nice little bit of a sweet brown sugary quality coming out of this one. The beer does have a real booziness in the middle of the palate as well actually, which is quite nice. I mean, I do like it when you've got a double IPA and it lets you know this is a double IPA, and you certainly get that from this one. So in the centre of your palate you've got that nice big sweet caramel there. It gives you a little bit of that booziness, and as you move further out across towards the edges of your palate, you can feel it does become a little bit more kind of biscuity and sweet. It becomes a bit more sweet caramelly initially, then it becomes a little bit more sort of biscuity and grainy like. So yeah, bear that in mind with this beer. This one's got a really nice composition in the middle of your palate. So yeah, on top of that bready layer in the middle third of your palate, you've got a nice kind of oily, caramelly sort of thing. So boozy, big, thick caramel note in the middle of your palate. As you move further out, a little bit more sweet and caramelly, then a little bit more sort of biscuity. So yeah, I like how this one goes together in that sense for sure. As I said, on the back third of your palate you can feel the sort of breadiness just thickens up a little bit. It does have a wee bit more graininess there as well. But as you move further forward you can feel it kind of smoothing out, and as you reach the kind of border between the middle and back third of your palate, the thickness just drops off a little bit, and there is a wee bit of that graininess there in the kind of border region. But yeah, the malt base in this one certainly does kind of sweeten up and smoothen out the further you go into the aftertaste, but you do get that boozy, brown sugary element just lingering there in this one. So yeah, it's really nice how that whole side of this beer goes together actually. The malt backbone in this one I think is very nicely done, and as I said, compared to other West Coast IPAs, this is one of the more kind of bready leaning ones. It's more of a Pliny the Elder than it is a Sierra Nevada Torpedo. So yeah, bear that in mind with this one. Really nicely done. Yeah, let's focus on the hoppy side of this beer then. So in the back corners of the palate you do get a nice little bit of earthiness out of this one. As you move further forward you can feel that the beer, it does develop more of a kind of big floral aromaticity. I do think there's a lot of Columbus in this one, in the used as the bittering hop. I would not be surprised about that at all. Yeah, yeah, I'd say I'm pretty sure it's Columbus. I'm not convinced. I wouldn't be convinced about Chinook. This one, to be honest, it doesn't strike me as resinous enough to be Chinook. It does strike me as being more kind of floral and aromatic in this one. So you get a nice kind of big spicy floral note coming out of this beer as you move further forward on the front corners of the palate there. But then yeah, as you go round the very front curve of the tongue, the beer distinctly gets a little bit lighter and more grassy, and I really like that side of it too. So it's got quite a contrast there. This beer does have a hell of a bitter kick to it. The other thing about this one we should say is that it is dry hopped, and if you drink dry hopped beers too early you do get a little bit of dustiness out of them, especially in the New England IPAs. But this one, the hops have just mellowed out quite nicely, but you do still feel a little bit of that dustiness there, complementing the sort of spicy edge that the beer has. But yeah, in terms of the fruity side of this beer then, you always go to the front third of your palate for that, so you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And I really like how this one goes together in that sense as well. So at the back of that front third of your palate, you've got a nice kind of, there is a bit of a darker sort of passion fruity note to this one. I hesitate to say grapefruit, to be honest with you. I would say it's more of a kind of darker passion fruity note there. But then as you move further forward in this one, you start to get a more oily mango-y note out of the beer. So I think there's Simcoe and Citra in this. I'm pretty sure that the hops I'm getting out of this are Simcoe and Citra. But yeah, it's got a really nice oily, tropically fruit side of things. As you go further into the aftertaste, you will get a few lighter notes coming off that, like a little bit of an apricot-y, a little bit of a dry pineapple sort of thing. You do get some of these notes of it, maybe even a little bit of a kind of dried peary quality as well. But yeah, that's the back half of that front third of your palate. But then on the front half of that front third of your tongue, that's where you get the more oily, orangey type vibes coming out of this beer. So yeah. So yeah, you do the on the front part of your tongue in this beer, you do get a little bit more of that kind of oily, orangey, tangerine thing. I think this one, I'm pretty sure that this will be Citra Simcoe Mosaic. I think this is a kind of fairly well-known blend that's gone into this beer, because you get that lovely, bright kind of tangerine orangey note out of this one. It doesn't strike me as being oily enough to be Amarillo. I think it is Mosaic that comes out of this one. But yeah, you get that nice oily orangey note in this beer is on the very front part of the palate, and as you move right towards the tip of the tongue, you start to get a real zestiness out of it. So I do wonder if there could be a little bit of Centennial in here. There is something that reminds me a lot of some of that Centennial zestiness in this beer as well. So I think, yeah, Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic and Centennial might be the combination that's going in here, along with Columbus as the bittering hop. As I've told you before, when it comes to hopping your beers, if you add the hops early on in the boil, that's when you get more of the bitterness from them. Columbus is a classic example. And then when you add when you add hops into the last half hour of the boil, that's when you get the more kind of flavour, aroma type vibe from them. So yeah, that's a really important point to make about these beers. And of course this one, going by the colour of the beer, this one I think is probably a 90-minute boil. As I say, the two things that affect the colour of your beer would be the type of malts that you use and the length of boil. And this one, the longer you boil the beer, the darker it's going to get, but this one does look as if it's probably a 90-minute boil, somewhere in that region. So yeah, this one, you've got quite a nice combination of things. So you've got a big bitterness out of this beer, but you've also got a nice kind of sweeter and smoother malty backbone, along with some nice oily fruits in there. This one it's a really solid example of the style actually. If you know the West Coast IPAs, it doesn't throw anything surprising in the mix there. It's just a very, very well crafted beer, and that suits the whole kind of idea that this beer is going for in my mind. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, I think this is the point where we should move on to the mouthfeel. I would describe this beer as being this beer I think is kind of top end of mid-bodied, maybe bottom end of full-bodied. It really does have a bit of slickness to it. The carbonation is quite smooth in this one. It has a real kind of clean and slick mouthfeel, like I was saying. Yeah, it comes across really, really very nicely actually. The cleanliness of the water in this one I think contributes a lot. It really does feel like a very clean water that you get in this one, which is interesting. As I say, I need to go to San Diego and try a few more of the beers, because you do tend to notice little trends like this in different cities and regions and stuff like this. But yeah, very clean, almost slightly crisp feeling IPA, this one. But lovely, lovely beer, as I said. In terms of IBUs, I think this one, I did read in one of the articles, in fairness, this one is 100 IBUs, so this is pretty much saturation point for your tongue. I probably would have guessed with this beer that it was around the kind of the 80 plus IBU mark, because this one does have a hell of a bitter kick, especially on the sides of your palate. You can feel that nice big kind of hoppy bitterness just lingering there. But the malty side of things, it's nice and smooth and bready. You've got a little bit of sweetness in there. You do get a good bit of booziness out of it as well, and you've got some nice oily, fruity characters coming out of this beer also. So yeah, I really, really like how this one goes together. As I said, nothing surprising about the composition and the flavour profile of this beer. It's just really, really solidly done, and you cannot ask for much more than that these days. So yeah, well done to Stone, Alesmith, Modern Times, Mother Earth. peat support port, and Thorn Brewing for this one. And yeah, this is a really cool initiative on behalf of the San Diego Brewers Guild. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the San Diego Brewers United, a West Coast double IPA coming in at 8.5% ABV, a really nice and solid example of the style. I can feel the booze of this one, pardon me, going to my head a little bit, so I think we should round off the review there. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Thank you again to Chris for providing this one to review on the channel. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this beer and the other ones that he's provided. I hope I can try more from all of these breweries at some point in the future. And yeah, I do need to tick off Mother Earth and Thorn Brewing on the channel at some point. It'd be nice to pop the cherry with those guys. So yeah, fingers crossed we can make that happen. As I said, I do want to get out to California at some point in the fairly near future and just take a look around. But yeah, this one I think should be, yeah, this is one that you should try if you get the chance. I'm not sure if it's still in production, but I have to say this is a really cool one to be able to have reviewed for you here on the channel. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from all the breweries involved here, and we will see about getting more California and more San Diego reviews for you on the channel soon. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys later. This one was a double IPA brewed by Thorn Brewing on behalf of the San Diego Brewers Guild, San Diego Brewers United, by Stone, Alesmith, Modern Times, Mother Earth, Peat Support, Port Brewing, and also Thorn Brewing. Till the next time, I'll catch you guys very soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and stay safe during COVID-19.